Mining and quarrying are big jobs with big machines and serious equipment. It has always been tough work, and it can be dangerous. On November 20th, 1968, Farmington No. 9 mine disaster in West Virginia claimed 78 miners' lives and led to the passage of the Federal Coal Mine Health and Safety Act of 1969. But mining tragedies continued. On May 2, 1972, a fire engulfed the Sunshine Silver Mine in Idaho, and 91 workers lost their lives from smoke inhalation and carbon monoxide poisoning. On March 9, 1976, 15 men died in the first of 2 explosions at the Scotia Mine. 2 days later, 11 more men were killed at the same mine. These were metal, non-metal mines, and not protected by the 1969 law, which only applied to coal mines. Congress decided that more needed to be done to end the tragic mining disasters and to provide metal, non-metal miners with the same protections as coal miners. So it enacted the 1977 Federal Mine Safety and Health Act. But there were still 138 metal, non-metal mining fatalities in the United States before this act took effect in March 1978. In the 40 years since then, safety practices continue to evolve, but the fatality rate dropped by more than 90%. Obviously, this act saves lives. The act is also a law that established the Mine Safety and Health Administration, or MSHA. This agency is charged with the enforcement of the act and sets the ground rules for operators mining stone, sand and gravel, coal, and other materials. The law also lists the penalty for mine operators and agents charged with having unsafe and unhealthy working conditions at their mines. The Act gives MSHA authority to propose safety and health regulations, which after an extensive review process are incorporated into Title 30, Code of the Federal Regulations. Title 30 contains specific rules and standards that operators and miners must comply with to prevent injury and illness on mine property. The Act gives miners and their representatives a right to participate in the rule-making process. You may comment on, object to, or challenge a proposed standard or regulation. It was Congress's intent for miners and operators to anticipate, identify, and prevent all existing hazards, and then put a system in place that would promptly identify and correct any new unsafe and unhealthy working conditions and practices. Essentially, Congress felt that you and your employer have a joint responsibility for safety and health. Each employee is responsible for his or her own personal safety. This includes performing work in a safe manner, ensuring the workplace is free of hazards, and making sure assigned equipment is in safe operating condition. Your training and experience will help you identify hazards. If you find a hazard and are unable to correct it immediately,
tell me this thing won't work.
It may be necessary to warn your coworkers, and it is your responsibility to report the hazard to your supervisor.
Marcy, you got a minute? Hey, Ralph was having a problem with an outlet out there.
If it is an imminent danger, exposed persons must be removed from the hazard immediately. If your company's safety and health reporting system is working properly, this should take care of the problem.
Let's go lock that out and we'll get an electrician. Okay?
If not, the Mine Act protects your right to report safety and health hazards to MSHA at any time.
A little piece of metal, which was your grounding plug, and that was the problem we were having. So
communicating effectively is the key to a safe and healthy workplace. So make it a point to discuss your concerns with your supervisor or manager. Your on-site supervisor is the person who is required by the Mine Safety and Health Act to take corrective action. It may be necessary for you and your supervisor to talk with others to find or identify the best course of action to take. Good communication between workers and management can reduce confusion and greatly aid in the elimination of hazards. That brings us to the responsibilities of managers and supervisors, who are held to a higher standard because they control the resources, give work instructions, set priorities, and direct work efforts. They also determine the workplace is safe and healthy. Managers and supervisors are responsible for ensuring that employees perform their jobs correctly and for making sure every hazard is corrected promptly. If your supervisor is unaware of a safety or health concern, it's your responsibility to tell him or her about it. Remember, an effective safety and health program requires your participation. At least twice a year, each surface mine will be inspected by a safety and health inspector from MSHA.
Mine Safety and Health here to do a regular inspection on you guys. Who's in charge? I am.
Underground mines will be inspected at least 4 times a year. Seasonal operations may receive fewer inspections.
Nice to meet you.
I'm James, I'm the miner's rep.
The Act states a miner's representative has the right to accompany the inspector with no loss of pay. If there is no representative at your mine, or one is unavailable, a miner may be selected to travel with the inspector. Should a representative, for whatever reason, not travel with the inspector will make an effort to talk to the workforce about health and safety matters. While you should have already discussed any safety or health concerns with your supervisor, you have a right to discuss uncorrected concerns with the MSHA inspector as well. MSHA may also investigate a complaint. It is your right to request an inspection when you have reason to believe that an imminent danger or a violation of the Act or a safety or health hazard exists. You are protected against retaliation for exercising this or any other right under the Mine Act. Congress made a point to give miners and their representatives protection against discrimination. You cannot be fired, transferred to a lower-paying job, refused employment, harassed, or otherwise lose job benefits as a result of exercising your rights under the Act.
What are these oily rags up here?
If an MSHA inspector finds a violation of one of the safety or health standards, he will write a citation or order, which is given to the company.
How long do you figure they've been here?
A copy of the citation or order must be made available to miners and their representatives.
If you want to get rid of them right now, James, I can terminate the citation right away.
Yeah, of course.
You have the right to request a conference with MSHA, and if you so desire, can challenge or contest the issuance, modification, or termination of any order. You may also contest the time allowed to abate the order. If an MSHA inspector finds something that is so serious he thinks it might kill or injure someone before it can be corrected, he or she will issue a withdrawal order to stop the affected operation.
What's going on with this emergency stop cord here? Why is it hanging like this?
If you are working in the affected area, you'll be told about it. You'll stop work and you'll leave the area.
You're absolutely right.
All workers idled by the withdrawal order are eligible for regular pay for the remainder of the shift. If the withdrawal order continues due to a failure by the company to comply with or correct a safety and health standard, you are paid for the lost time at your regular rate for the time idled or for 1 week, whichever is lesser. If you or any employee feel you've been denied pay because an operation had to shut down to correct a hazard, you have a right to file a complaint with the Federal Mine Safety and Health Review Commission.
Get her fixed up.
It is your right and responsibility to participate in and observe exposure studies involving noise, dust, and other toxic materials or harmful agents. You also have the right to assess your exposure records, even though the company informs you about sampling results and what is being done to correct situations involving overexposure.
Wherever we're going to be climbing.
A mine operator or independent contractor working on a mine site is required to provide training which complies with the standards covered in either Part 46 or Part 48 of Title 30 in the Code of Federal Regulations. This training must teach you how to recognize hazards and show you how to perform your job correctly, safely, and efficiently. It is your responsibility to perform your tasks in accordance with your training. 5 types of training are required. New inexperienced miner training, new experienced miner training, new task training, annual refresher training, and site-specific hazard awareness training. For companies that must comply with the Part 48 standards, which apply to surface coal, metal and gypsum mines, and all underground mines, a copy of the company's training plan must be provided to the miner's representative. If there is no representative, a copy of the training plan must be posted on the mine bulletin board at least 2 weeks before it is submitted to MSHA for approval. Part 46 standards of the Title 30 of the Code of Federal Regulations apply to most surface non-metal mines. Companies that are regulated by these standards are not required to submit their training plans for approval if they include all the elements specified by the standard for each of the 5 types of training mentioned previously. New inexperienced miner training, newly hired experienced miner training, new task training, annual refresher training, and site-specific hazard awareness training. If a Part 46 training plan does not contain all the elements required in the standard, then it must be submitted to MSHA for approval. The training plan must be posted on the mine bulletin board at least 2 weeks prior to training taking place. You have the right to receive all required MSHA training, and if an inspector finds that you have not, you will be withdrawn from the work area until you are trained. You cannot be fired, discriminated against, or suffer loss of pay during the period the required training is being provided. Keeping you safe on the job is in everyone's best interest. The Mine Act protects your rights, but you are also responsible for making the workplace safe for yourself and your coworkers. For more information, check out A Guide to Miners' Rights and Responsibilities under the Federal Mine Safety and Health Act. It covers everything we've talked about and more. If you have questions regarding what was contained in this program or in the Guide to Miners' Rights and Responsibilities, do not hesitate to ask your trainer or instructor. Know your rights, understand the rules, follow them, and stay safe.